So, hello everyone,
What's
and
up,
welcome.
y'all?
Thank you for joining us for the talk. We'll be talking about our CryptoPunks art. For those unfamiliar with the CryptoPunks and what the CryptoPunks project is, it's basically 10,000 characters that popped up on the Ethereum blockchain in 2017. And they kind of made a huge social change in the whole crypto space, and kind of people started adopting these images as basically non-conformists, supporting the idea of anonymity and decentralization from the blockchain culture and the ethos of decentralization. So we'll be talking with our wonderful guests. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Hi, I'm Tony Herrera. I had the privilege of claiming CryptoPunks in 2017. Just a punk by nature. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So yeah, let's start the discussion.
Let's go.
Hey,
Storm, please.
everyone. I am Storm. I am a Bored Ape yacht, Bored Ape. I'm also a founder of my own Web3 company. And
Redlion, would you like to introduce
Hello,
yourself?
I'm Redlioneye. I'm the founder of Redlion, which is a print media Web3 NFT project.
So, let's start this talk. How do you first consider punks as art?
The question is, do I consider punks as art?
Yes.
no.
Oh wow. So it reminds me. The question reminds me of Jordan Peterson's question of. It begs the question of what is art. But to answer the question, I do think punks are art. I think art encompasses many things for all human beings. It could be music, it could be painting, sculptures, photography, dance. So yeah, for me, for many reasons, including the fact that many museums and institutions have begun to collect punks. So you can consider it popish art, pixelated art, but it's not. It's art nonetheless.
We'll come back to that, to the pixel art part. Storm, please.
No, I don't think punks are art. I think they're just a whole bunch of square boxes with colors in it.
Pixels,
You know?
pixels,
Just square
not boxes,
boxes.
pixels.
Just square boxes. But yeah, I do agree that you said that, art it really is up to the person and what they see, right? Like they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholders, but I don't see much beauty in these punks.
Fair, fair.
Um,
Redlion?
my opinion is, as Tony said, what is art? That is a difficult question because when you are generalizing everything, you see a bad drawing, it is still art, but like, is it art that matters? That is the real question. So I think maybe we should like talk more about that because like when you're generalizing something, like everything is art, from like a bad drawing to the Mona Lisa to video games to music to architecture, everything is art.
I'm reminded of the urinal and the banana duct taped to a wall.
Would love to hear. Would you like to share more about it?
Only once again, as Redline mentioned, it's like just like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, art is also in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
I agree. So my next question goes to everyone. Do you see the punks as something that has created certain social change, not just into the crypto space? I mean, of course, in the crypto space, but also outside of the crypto space. Certain social change in terms of those pixelated characters showing up in public and showing some kind of story to people outside of the crypto space.
Yeah. So CryptoPunks has been around for it's probably CryptoPunks basically is the birth of NFTs, right? For me, it's interesting because having claimed CryptoPunks, when I claimed them not because I thought they were going to be hugely valuable. I had no idea they would ever be valuable. I claimed them because I thought, here's art, pixelated art, boxish art on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's going to live forever, right? So for me, I think the interesting thing about CryptoPunks is that CryptoPunks for me is what led to collecting so much more art on the blockchain. I think, for me, there's so much art that's being shared now on the Ethereum blockchain that for me, a lot of the art that I collect in the blockchain all goes back to punks. And so punks for me, we were having a friendly discussion last night about Yuga Labs, and we'll get into that. But
Yeah,
Yuga Labs
gotta
acquiring,
get into that.
yeah. But it was interesting because Yuga Labs just, and I don't want to go off on a tangent rant, but Yuga Labs also just acquired Proof, which has Grailers, and Eli runs Grailers. So there's a lot of art that's coming to the Yuga Labs ecosystem. So I think, not to get off topic, but if you don't consider punks art, then you certainly don't consider Bored Apes punk, art. It's like that's like the worst type of art, right? It's like if you can't consider punks art, then you're definitely not going to consider a Bored Ape art.
That looks pretty artistic to me.
To Redlion's point, it could be artistic, right? It could be like just like
everything is art.
Yeah, just like a parent looks at a drawing from their kid and says, "Oh my God, this is like the greatest thing ever. This is like the next Picasso." Yeah, it's just your kid drawing some pieces of art. Anyway,
Would you like to add to that, Redlion?
Well, I think that the most interesting thing is doing things for the sake of doing things. The most interesting art comes out when you have a creator who is passionate about doing things, and this is what makes humans care about what you're doing. When other people see that you're passionate about what you're doing, this is the most captivating thing. And if you happen to do art, then people are interested in your art. And the thing with punks is that it was two dudes from Canada that were very creative coders, and they used to work for Google, smart guys, and they just made this project for the sake of making it. They never intended it to be like a groundbreaking project or like the best art you've ever seen. They just wanted to express themselves.
That's actually a really good point because, like, if you look at the history of CryptoPunks, Matt and John had a studio that did a lot of creative studio that did a lot of
like the game that never ended.
Exactly. And if you look at their past art or their designs, you can look at it, and historically, you can see a lot of the features that were added from that design into CryptoPunks. Right? So it's like like Redlion mentioned, it's like two artists who created this sort of phenomenal project that actually also took a long time to really be seen as an NFT project, right? Because CryptoPunks precede the ERC20. They were always their own token. Only tradable, have always only traded CryptoPunks, unless you wrap them and you trade them on other platforms, you can only trade them on their own platform. So it's interesting both from our perspective and also from a technological perspective, because for the first time you had this art that is essentially tokenized on the blockchain and made tradable. So I think it's CryptoPunks have created a phenomenon when it comes to NFTs and particularly art on NFTs.
But I would like to hear like the opposite argument from Storm.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Why do you think it's not as artistic?
I mean, just to go back to beauty is in the beholder. It's like that's like someone can say like, oh, look at this trash can. Like, this is art to me.
So let me, for the benefit of the audience, give you a counter argument. So earlier you were on a panel talking about nude photography, right? Mm-hmm. So you consider nude photography art?
Of course.
So I'm going to put a suggestion in you. All those pixelated punks, they're actually naked below. All you see is their torso. All you see is their head, right? So not to give you a visual, but below this, below Redlion and below Darko and below Tony, we're really naked.
beautiful
Interesting.
naked bodies.
Perfect. I love that. My next question goes to Storm. So, Storm, would you consider the CryptoPunks as something that affected like all the NFT space, like all the things that followed the next the next generation of PFP project that came out?
Yes and no. I mean, those who are familiar with NFTs and are in the space, we do know that CryptoPunks are like the OGs, right? But I'm not to be biased, but I feel like Bored Ape Yacht Club really set the path for PFPs and NFT collections overall.
Okay.
To their credit, Yuga Labs really sort of upped the game with board. Whether we agree with, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When Bored Apes came out, I faded them, and I even asked my kids, I'm like, "Do you guys like this?" And they're like, "Nah." So like we didn't mint any because of that reason, right? Mind you, big mistake, right? Because if you had minted them, and then also like Bored Apes Yacht Club and also Yuga Labs really changed the game in terms of like what it is like to run a project on the blockchain that perpetually changes and rewards its base, right? Its collectors. So I think I have mad respect for what Yuga Labs is trying to accomplish in the space, and I think it's also a very nascent space where, despite us being in this space for a long time, it's still relatively new, and we still have a lot to go.
Sweet. You mentioned the technological side behind the punks. So how does the technology, so basically the claiming and all of that, affected the space at that time?
So the space was really nascent early on, right? Like this was 2017. You had very limited tools for doing anything in Web3.
Even MetaMask wasn't there.
Yeah, MetaMask wasn't there. This was 2017. This is like the first cycle of kind of a hype cycle of 2017, 2018. And it was led by CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks, and it was also led by the ICO craze. So just to give everybody a little bit of history, January of 2017, we start the year with Ethereum at $10 and Bitcoin at $1,000. Fast forward to December, Ethereum is at $1,400 and Bitcoin is at $19,000. And in that between, you had a ton of ICOs that never went anywhere. They were just vaporware, but you needed either Bitcoin or Ethereum to participate in it. And at the time, the smart contract wallets were limited. You were either sending money to ETH or Bitcoin to a wallet and getting tokens, a smart contract and getting tokens, or you were using Web3 wallets. At the time, the Web3 wallet that was most used was a wallet called Mist, which was from the Ethereum Foundation, which is now deprecated. And
which was terrible.
Which is terrible, and I'm glad you bring up the point, because it was terrible because everybody now uses MetaMask or some other Web3 wallet that you can easily send a transaction. But with Mist wallet, if you downloaded Mist and put it on your computer, you literally had to sync the entire blockchain. You had to have the wallet synced to the blockchain.
Similar to Bitcoin wallet.
Oh, you're fading Bitcoin now. You literally had to sync the wallet with the Ethereum blockchain, the entire history of the blockchain, before you could even do a transaction. And so, having been early to Bitcoin and Ethereum, a lot of the activity was just not easy. I mean, if we complain about the UX UI today, if we complain about the user experience today and the gas fees and everything else, it was terrible, even worse then. So much so that I've talked to friends who say, I never claimed punks, even though I was aware of them, because I didn't want to spend the time syncing the wallet or spending gas on something that I didn't know was going to be of any value.
Okay, my next question goes to the to the institutions that kind of started claiming the punks, and the price that we saw some crazy sales in the CryptoPunks community.
Yes.
Would you? So the question is is that just market speculation, or is it because of the thing that the CryptoPunks deliver in the background, like the
So the question is, on the CryptoPunks, the value. Repeat the question just so I can understand it.
is the value of CryptoPunks the value what they did on the blockchain at the time and what they're doing so far, or is it just market speculation by people doing
I
JPEG?
think it could be all the above. I mean, I think punks went from. I mean, you could buy for 3 or 4 years, well, about 3 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. You could literally buy punks for under $100. I mean, I have mad respect for the individuals who understood it. I claimed a bunch of punks, but I have to admit that I was like the guy that they let loose in a store with a shopping cart and says you can stuff as much as you want into the shopping cart without like going to the most expensive stuff and saying let me put that in the cart. So I just claimed a bunch of punks because it was like, oh, let me just claim this one and that one. But there were people who saw the value of the rarest punks, people like Beauty and the Punk, and who claimed several apes, Stray Bits, who famously claimed 7 of the 9 aliens. I mean, here's a guy who's a hacker who figured out in the contract, oh, these are the rarest ones, so let me go out and claim the rarest ones. Individuals who went on to create Eric Snowfall Calderon, who claimed a bunch of zombies, right? So there are people who clearly saw value in these tokens and went after and collected them, just like people go out and claim, once again, to art. There are people who look at art and say, I have conviction in this art, so I'm going to buy it no matter what the price is now, because I expect it to be a store of value or a way for me to park X money, right? It's like no different than people parking ETH in NFTs that they think are high value, right? So I think the innovation of NFTs is that you have, for the first time, you have the ability to store value in a token that you can trade in a decentralized, permissionless, trustless manner. And I know that here we're all sort of drinking the Kool-Aid, but the reality is that that's some freaking kick-ass technology. I mean, it's like, I'm like bullish for like, and the young people like Storm who are gonna freaking reap the benefits of a revolution in technology that I think most people just haven't wrapped their heads around.
No, completely agree. I mean, 5 years since the release of CryptoPunks, the technology has gone so much further, and so much has.
And it's also like a full cycle. I mean, look at the hype around apes. Apes were like a year ago worth what, 100 ETH, and now it's like you have this whole, and that's the market, right? That's just the market. It's like, and don't regret it, because I minted Super Yetis, so I'm like, hey, I lost. It's like I cringe at the stuff I bought, but it's okay. You don't have these gains without, you don't have this experience unless you are willing to experiment and take some risks.
100%.
One more question for Redlion. So, how would you say that the CryptoPunks have affected the art world, the crypto art world?
Yeah, I think it has been really revolutionary for people to realize, you can have digital artwork that can be valuable and people can really love it. And I think from that novelty, as I said earlier, it sparked like an avalanche effect. People were looking at the sale. Well, it's not just about the sales, but it is what gets people inspired. Like, we all talk about like the most famous painting ever sold, or the most expensive painting ever sold. Or through my interviews, I spoke with a lot of artists, and they were telling me, yeah, I got into NFTs when I saw that Beeple sold his NFT for 65 million. So the
69.
market validated the use case and the art form. Is the price speculative? Is it just about appreciators? Yeah, it is about both. And speculation is because there is interest around it, you know. So yeah, this is what I think.
Perfect. So glad to hear that. Because we're running out of time, would you like to say some
Oh no, no.
words?
As Redlion was speaking, I just remember like it's like when I started looking at NFTs, one thing that struck to me was when I discovered Redlion's project, which is his Redlion Gazette, because it was like I love magazines. I used to, subscribe to tons of magazines. I no longer do that now because it's like you have NFTs, right? But I remember discovering Redline Gazette, and it was a celebration of editorial plus art, and it was like, what? I'm like, I'm like, what the hell is this? There's a guy that actually tokenized magazines. This is like freaking amazing. And then he went out and curated a bunch of art, like Miguel Guerrero. He had a ton of artists, like, So from a publication perspective, it was just, I applaud what he's done because he was one of the first people to take and tokenize a magazine. It's like, and it was editorial celebrating art NFTs, and he's done
And
a
that's
wonderful
how I
job.
met Tony, because I would see on the sales this little clown pop up, and I was like, "Who is this guy buying what I'm doing?" You know. So then I went. It was around that time that I bought my first punks, and I went into the community because I was already in there. You didn't have a punk to chat back then in the chat, so I was already familiar with the people, and I met people like Tony, Dave. They were all, yeah, we like what you do, and this is how I got into it, more of like in a social manner.
Sweet. Any final words, Thor?
Final words. Yeah, punks are the stepchildren of Yuga Labs. They were adopted. No, I will say that I have a lot of respect for the punk community. I'm just giving them a hard time, a little bit. But I think punks, are art.
They're growing on you.
Just a little bit.
They're-
Not this one though.
The other ones.
I like the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
We
keep in
managed
mind
to
that the
get
other
you
ones are
undecided.
naked
I'm sorry.
avatar.
Thank you, everyone. Because we're running out of time, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask any of the panelists, and I'm sure they will be glad, they will be glad to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much.